What is up, everybody? My name is Famous and welcome to another episode of Pokemon Go. In today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at 5 Pokemon that will never be in Pokemon Go, and this is going to be the anime edition. If you do enjoy this type of content, be sure to like and subscribe. That's going to let me know whether or not you enjoy this and whether or not I should continue it in the future, so be sure to let me know what you think about it. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this list. The first Pokemon that we're going to be taking a look at is a pink Butterfree. Don't get this confused with the shiny, it is actually a different variant. So the pink Butterfree appears in an episode known as Bye Bye Butterfree. Ash's Butterfree falls in love with it, and interestingly enough, the shiny variant does retain its pink color, but it is not in the body, instead it is in the hands and the feet. At this point in time of making this episode, these shinies actually did not exist, and then secondly, there wasn't really a forethought of gender and how the Pokemon would maybe look different based on that. So this is kind of like an early concept of, oh, well, this is clearly a female Butterfree. Something that I think is really cool, though, it's not going to break the bank in Pokemon Go. I mean, I think it'd be really cool to catch it, and it would just be something different than a shiny variant, just to kind of add on to it. But it's definitely not going to be usable, but something that I would personally love to see in the game. Let's go ahead and move on to the second one. This is going to be a set of Pokemon that's probably going to be the most useful out of all of these, except for the #1 spot, and that is Giant Ancient Pokemon. Now, I have Gengar on the screen. There's actually 3 Pokemon that got these tribal tattoos. They've got a different coloring in an episode, but we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about that. So the 3 Pokemon that you can see in the episode is going to be Alakazam, Gengar, and Jigglypuff. Don't ask me about that. Anyways, these Pokemon would be incredible to have. It's kind of like an ancient version is what they were going for. I'm assuming they would have better stats, so Gengar and then Alakazam would be absolutely incredible to have in the game. Just imagine running across one of these Pokemon in the wild. Would be incredible. Hopefully none of these Pokemon were harmed in the making of this video, considering they do have tattoos. Let's go ahead and move on to the next spot. This is going to be one that I know Mystic 7 would be proud to have, and that is Golden Sudowoodo. Once again, don't get this confused with the shiny variation, although it does kind of have a yellowish tint to it. The Golden Sudowoodo was formed based on a trainer who had some experiment go wrong or right. I guess it just kind of depends on how you look at it. But the goal behind it was to make Sudowoodo more resistant to water. With its original typing of just rock, it was super effective against water type moves. So this was going to be a way to get around that, but unfortunately, the trainer did not expect Golden Sudowoodo to absolutely hate it, and he runs away. But luckily, at the end of the episode, Golden Sudowoodo is able to turn back into its normal form. But I did think if it was put into the game, it would have to have a different typing. We're actually going to see 2 Pokemon on this list that would have a different typing because of the variation. So in this case, I'm thinking the Rock and Steel would be a good combination for it, plus it looks really cool. Let's go ahead and move on to the #2 spot. This is going to be a Pokemon that a lot of people had a lot of hype over before Sun and Moon came out, and I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about that. That is going to be Crystal Onyx. So Crystal Onyx was formed based on its environment. Being in a cave and then also having a lot of water in the cave as well, it simply adapted to its environment, and basically, I'm thinking it would have to have a different typing because of that. I'm thinking Steel and Ice would be good. Once again, it is now no longer super effective to water because of the change that it went through. Crystal Onyx looks absolutely incredible. But when Sun and Moon came out, there was something known as Alolan forms that existed in the game. It's going to be older generation Pokemon that basically got a new variant added into the game, and because of that, they ended up changing the typing, they ended up changing the look, and a lot of fans in Pokemon thought that Crystal Onyx was going to be on that list, along with myself. I thought that it was a perfect Pokemon. It already had kind of a backstory to it, and to actually have it in the game would be something that a lot of trainers would be very excited to have, but unfortunately, it did not make the list. Let's go ahead and move on to the final Pokemon. The reason why I put this last is because it was such a great episode and something that when I was a younger kid, I actually remember this episode, so it is something that has kind of stuck with me, and that is the Giant Dragonite. So the giant Dragonite occurred in an episode at a lighthouse where a trainer was trying to lure out this mysterious Pokemon from the ocean. And when the Pokemon comes into sight, we know that it is Dragonite, but the trainer did not know that. And then for the fact that it was over 100 foot tall, it's wading through the ocean would probably throw it a little off guard, and it wasn't really sure what it was. So I decided to create the actual variant of it where it would retain its dark color. Like in the anime, it's got the white glowing eyes. We have an adjustment in the CP, it would get a buff. Also, if you notice the height and the weight, that is also buffed as well because it is such a massive Pokemon. And then of course, we also increased its HP. So this would be a Pokemon variant, basically giant Pokemon. Just imagine walking down the ocean, and maybe it is just specific to a site, but walking down the ocean and then seeing just an absolutely massive version of a Pokemon. And maybe you have to do something to try and catch it, or maybe it's just extremely rare, or it only shows up at just, you know, just insanely rare amount of times. I think trainers would absolutely love for that to be in the game, but unfortunately, I don't think it ever will. So hopefully you did enjoy the episode. I had a ton of fun making it, and I want to know what you think about the episode. Do you remember any of these Pokemon? Have you never heard of them before? Which Pokemon would you be most excited to see in the game? Be sure to let me know in the comment section. I also want to say that I am selling shirts until June 4th. You can get your very own Raid Like a Boss shirt. We have all teams represented, including Team Rocket. If you do decide to buy the shirt, know that it is going to a good cause, because 50% of the profit is going to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So anyways, I hope you did enjoy it, and I will see you next time.
Hit me like a tidal wave.